When I was 12 years old, something happened to me that I'll never forget. At that time, I was small, standing no taller than 5 feet and weighing less than 100 pounds. I was always shy and reserved, not one to speak up or confront others. This particular incident occurred during a very long flight back home after visiting my father. So I was traveling with my mom, 2 brothers and sister. But the airline couldn't put us all in seats together, so my older brother and sister had to sit somewhere else. We only had 3 seats together because someone was already sitting in the aisle seat. Then after a while, a really big man came and sat in the empty seat next to me. He noticed he was too big for just one seat, so he pushed the armrest up to make more space, but that meant he was spilling into my seat. And I got squished against my mom, and he took up about a third of my seat. This guy was really, really big. He was so heavy that he could have hurt me if he just stepped on me accidentally. He tried to talk to me a few times, but what he said sounded kind of gross or silly. Once, he even asked if I took his blanket, but then he realized he was sitting on it. After that, I just didn't want to talk to him anymore. I kept myself busy watching movies. But no matter what I did, he kept trying to touch me or talk to me, which made me feel really uncomfortable. Then I thought I should just sleep because pretending to be busy didn't stop him from bothering me. So I slept on and off for a few hours. When I woke up, I watched a movie and then fell back asleep. At one point, I was really tired, so I was almost asleep. It's when you can't tell if what's happening is real or just a dream. Noises and feelings from the real world sneak into your dreams. Then, I felt something touch my leg. In my dream, I was exploring this vibrant jungle, like the Amazon rainforest, full of life and greenery all around. Then, it happened again, but slower this time, like someone was doing it on purpose. That made me stop dreaming. Suddenly, I felt a tight squeeze on my thigh. It felt strange and uncomfortable, something I'd never experienced before. I was still really tired, so I didn't open my eyes. I just shifted a little, hoping whatever was happening would stop, but it didn't. I felt a hand grab my arm, then my shoulder. I kept thinking if I pretended to be asleep, it would go away, but it didn't. So I woke up my mom and told her what was going on. She saw him trying to pull me towards him and pushed his hands away. Then she asked him what he was doing. He said he was just trying to help me because I was sleeping all twisted up on her, so he thought I might hurt my neck. He suggested I sleep on his shoulder. Then my mom said, "It's okay, she's fine, so you don't have to worry about her." Then he insisted, "No, really, you might hurt her neck. She should sleep on me." He kept insisting, grabbing my left arm tightly. This continued until I managed to pull my arm away from him, and my mom hugged me tight. "Don't worry about her and don't touch her again," my mom told him firmly. He just raised his hands and said, "I was just trying to help." After that, he didn't talk to me for the rest of the plane ride, which was another 8 hours. It turned out he lived in the same city as me, but thankfully, I haven't seen him again. But I've had lots of dreams about confronting him. Looking back, we probably should have told the flight attendant about what happened, but we didn't think of it then. I've moved on from it now, but it was really scary at the time. I still remember it clearly, even after 8 years. Just so you know, I'm a 15-year-old boy. I'm not very tall or strong, and my friend is also 15. I won't tell you our names, but you can call me Holden. I live in a small town in Indiana where everyone knows each other. In the morning, in the afternoon, and when it gets dark, there are always people walking their dogs around. Also, I want to mention, I'm a mischievous kid, and not much scares me. But this one experience made me really scared of the dark. Sorry for the long introduction, but here's what happened. Me and my friend Justin were having fun walking around my town, ringing doorbells and running away. We were on our way to pick up our friend when a police officer stopped us and told us to go home. We didn't want to listen, so we said no. The officer warned us that if we didn't go home, he would have to take us there himself. Still, we refused to budge. Then the officer got out of his car. That's when Justin and I bolted, and the officer started chasing us. We sprinted as fast as we could until we reached a barbed wire fence. Without thinking, we leaped over it, but in the rush, I ended up with a cut from the sharp wire. We began to run and wound up in a forest and hid in some bushes there. But Justin then tells me the noise is coming from behind us. We stand up slowly and turn around, still hearing the running. We see a man running fast toward us, but it wasn't the police, so we sprinted in the other direction. I was pumped with adrenaline and completely focused on escaping that I didn't notice my friend had fallen. When I turned back, I saw the man had grabbed Justin and was giving me a creepy smile. I knew I couldn't leave my friend, so I stopped running and rushed toward the man. I hit his hand with a rock to make him let go of Justin. He released Justin, and we both ran. We emerged from the woods onto a sidewalk where a dog walker nearby spotted us. He let his dog chase the man in the opposite direction. The man vanished into the woods, and we called the cops. They searched but couldn't find him. I can't help but wonder what might have happened if I hadn't turned around. I'm just happy I didn't have to find out. I've been flying for a little more than a year now, but this one trip stands out because it was so strange. It was my first time stopping during a trip. I had finished dinner and was relaxing, reading and listening to music. Then, about 10 minutes after I got comfortable, I started hearing something weird. Suddenly, I felt tense and uneasy. So I stopped the music and sat up, trying hard to listen. I heard a quiet cry, like a woman crying softly outside my door. She sounded like she was really sad, like something really bad had happened to her feelings. Feeling awkward and uncomfortable, I thought maybe the girl in the room next to mine was having a tough time because of a breakup or something. So I decided I needed to be brave and go see what was happening before something bad happened. I calmed myself down and went to the room next door. I knocked softly, and a minute later, a girl a bit younger than me answered. She was okay, completely normal. She wasn't upset or crying at all. Her face wasn't swollen and she seemed normal. I was really confused, but I couldn't let it go. So I awkwardly said, I'm staying in the room next door. I thought I heard someone crying and wanted to make sure everything was okay. She looked puzzled, but suggested maybe I heard the TV. I nod in agreement, trying to brush it off, but there's no chance SpongeBob was making that noise for an hour. I felt super scared, like every hair on my body stood up. The scariest part was, there wasn't another room next to mine, so the girl was the only one close enough to make those sounds. The hallway was really quiet, so I convinced myself that whatever it was, it must be over. So I quickly went back to my room. But as soon as I walked in and closed the door, it was like a switch. I heard someone sniffling and sobbing in my room. I searched everywhere, but I couldn't find anyone. I listened carefully to the walls and vents, but the sound wasn't coming from outside, so I hid under my blankets. It was really loud and kept going for another hour, getting even more miserable. It wasn't muffled anymore. I tried to play music to drown it out, but it was hard to ignore something like that. Just when I was about to give up and run for the door, the sound suddenly stopped in the middle of a wall. I didn't sleep much that night, but thankfully, after that day, I never heard those sounds again, and sometimes I think someone might have played a silly prank on me to scare me. Last summer, on a sunny day in June, my boyfriend and I decided to make the most of the nice weather. We borrowed his parents' kayaks and headed to a little lake nestled in the heart of a small town. Many people used the dock to put their boats in the water, and there was a special place where anyone could swim. So I drive my car to where we put the boats in the water. I help my boyfriend take the kayaks off the car. Then, I leave him with the kayaks and go to park the car. I park a bit far away. Then I change out of my shorts and t-shirt and put on my bikini. There's no safe place on the kayaks to keep our extra clothes dry, so I leave them in the car. Then my boyfriend and I paddle around the lake for about an hour, but our arms start to feel tired, so we go back to the shore. After we brought the kayaks onto the rocky shore, I noticed a man strolling along the public dock with his dog, but dogs weren't supposed to be on that dock because there were safer areas for them to swim. However, this man seemed oblivious to the rules. His dog was bothering girls who were trying to enjoy the sun on the dock, getting in their faces and not listening when he called it back. Even though the dog seemed friendly, the girls clearly didn't want it in their faces, especially with the man hanging around. Every time someone jumped off the dock, the dog would bark anxiously, but the man didn't seem to notice or care. I decided to ignore him and left my boyfriend with the kayaks, while I went to get my car. As I mentioned earlier, I was only wearing a bikini, which made me feel quite exposed since it shows a lot of skin. While I was walking to my car, I noticed the same guy and his dog from the dock. He came up to me and said I had a beautiful body, then asked what I was doing for the holiday weekend. I thanked him uncomfortably and brushed off his question, but he kept following me. He would not stop commenting on my body, but now he was only a few steps behind me. I could not call out to my boyfriend because he was too far away, and I didn't want to make a scene. I looked at some families nearby, hoping they'd notice something was wrong and help, but they didn't seem to understand my silent pleas for assistance. As I walked towards my car, I held my keys between my fingers, ready to quickly unlock the door, get in, and lock it behind me. He was only a few steps away from me, close enough to my car's trunk. But luckily, he got distracted by a man parked nearby. I got into my car, locked the door, and let myself cry. After I told my boyfriend, he was really angry, but the guy was already gone. Please, everyone, don't follow women to their cars. If someone isn't interested in you, understand and respect that.